The moment the emergency room doctor said glycoside poisoning, I looked at my stepmother. She held back a slight smile, knowing exactly what she had done. She was the one who always said, "What a useless garden," but knew that glycoside was the poison in the oleander plant in my garden, which she had asked me about 15 days earlier. She used my knowledge to poison her own stepson and blame me. But when she saw me in the room with the police, her face went white. She who always screamed, "You filthy thing, don't touch anything," now begged, "Anna, please tell them." So, I used what she despised most, my dirty botanical knowledge, to prove the truth. She called me an ignorant gardener, but what she didn't know was that I had recorded an audio recording of her confessing the entire plan to her mother on the phone. Let me tell you how this unbelievable story started. I'm Anne, and for the last 10 years, that mansion was my life. I wasn't family, but I was the guardian of their memories. I was hired by the first wife, Claire, a kind woman who loved that garden more than anything. She and I planted every rose, every shrub. When she was diagnosed with cancer, the garden was her refuge. And when she was on her deathbed, she made me promise. I remember her hand, cold, holding mine. She said, "Anne, the garden is Leo's soul. My son will grow up without me, but he will have this place. Take care of my roses, and take care of my son as if he were your own." I cried. I swore I would. Claire passed away. Mr. Harrison, the millionaire, was left a widower with a 2-month-old baby. I kept my promise. I tended that garden with my life, and I always found a way to see little Leo, to bring a flower to his room, but Mr. Harrison's grief didn't last long. 6 months later, he showed up with Beatrice. From the first day, I felt it. It wasn't just jealousy. It was contempt. She didn't look at me. She looked through me, like I was just another tool in the shed. Beatrice hated everything that reminded her of Claire, and that included the garden and the baby. The first thing she did was call me to the terrace. She was holding a glass of champagne at 10 in the morning, and she said, without looking at me, "I want you to pull out all of these white roses. They're dreadfully tacky. I want that ghost out of my house." My stomach turned. The white roses, Claire's favorites. I said, "Ma'am, Mrs. Claire planted these roses. They have a meaning." She cut me off. For the first time, she looked me in the eye. A cold, dead look. "I didn't ask for their meaning. I gave you an order. Either you pull them, or I'll call someone else and you're on the street. Understood, gardener?" I pulled the roses. Every single one felt like a piece of my promise being broken. If you've ever felt that justice needs to be served, no matter the cost, like this video and subscribe. Because what I did next changed this family's story forever. From that day on, the persecution began. Beatrice would humiliate me for any reason. If a leaf fell in the pool, she'd scream at me in front of the other staff. If I stopped for water, she'd time me. She wanted me to quit, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I had a promise to keep. I kept tending the garden. And Leo, I'd see him in secret. The nanny, Maria, a woman who had also worked for Claire, made it possible. I'd bring Leo toys, sing to him softly. He was the light in that dark house, until one afternoon, Beatrice found me in the garden. I was pruning the oleanders. They're beautiful, but deadly. She appeared behind me, startling me. She laughed. "You and your useless plants. Tell me something, Anne. Which one of these little plants would kill someone the fastest?" I froze. What kind of question was that? I laughed nervously. "God forbid, ma'am. This one here, the oleander. It's beautiful, but a single leaf can stop an adult's heart. It's best not to even get close." She smiled. A strange smile I didn't understand at the time. "Good to know. Carry on with your useless work." I ignored it. I thought it was just a sick joke. It was a fatal mistake. A week later, the first domino fell. The nanny, Maria, was fired. I found her crying at the gate. And she accused me of theft. Said I took a $20,000 watch. I've never stolen a cent. She planted the watch in my bag, and I know she did. I tried to talk to Mr. Harrison, but he wouldn't even see me. "That's my wife's business." He sent word. Beatrice hired a new nanny. A young, terrified girl who spoke to no one and had strict orders not to let me near Leo. The house grew colder. 2 weeks later, the cascade of signs began. First, Leo started getting sick. Mysterious cramps, vomiting. Mr. Harrison traveled a lot for work, and Beatrice handled everything. She told the doctors it was a milk allergy. She changed his formula, but the baby only got worse. I could hear him crying from the garden. My heart ached. Second, Beatrice started asking me for strange things, and she said one day, "When you're done, can you leave your gardening shoes here, near the kitchen door? It's to make cleaning the terrace easier." I thought it was odd. Cleaning? She never cleaned anything. But I'm bait. I left my shoes there, covered in dirt, fertilizer, and dry leaves. Third, the smell. I started to smell something strange coming from the baby's room when the window was open. A sweet but bitter smell. She said it was a new imported cleaning product. I knew that smell. It was the smell of oleander leaves when they're crushed. My blood ran cold. But I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to, until Wednesday, the day of the discovery. I was finishing fertilizing the new plants, the ones she ordered to replace the roses, when I heard the scream. It wasn't a cry. It was a sharp, agonizing scream. A scream that stopped my heart. I dropped everything and ran. I burst into the house. The new nanny was panicking in the living room. I flew up the stairs. I ran into the baby's room. The scene was a nightmare. Little Leo was in his crib, pale, his lips turning blue. He was foaming at the mouth. Beatrice was standing next to the crib. When she saw me, her face changed. The panic vanished, replaced by a calculated rage. She pointed her finger at me and shrieked. It was her, the gardener. "What did you do to my son?" I couldn't understand. I was paralyzed, staring at the baby. "It was you," she screamed again, just as Mr. Harrison, who had just gotten home from a trip, ran into the room. "What happened?" he yelled. "It was Anne, Richard. She poisoned Leo. Look!" She pointed to the floor. Next to the crib, tipped over, was Leo's bottle. And right next to the bottle were my gardening shoes. The ones she told me to leave there. Mr. Harrison looked from the shoes to the bottle, and then to me, his face twisted with hatred. "What did you do?" I couldn't speak. I could only look at the baby. That's when I smelled it. The smell she called a cleaning product. It was the smell of bitter almonds. The smell of oleander. It was coming from the bottle. In that second, everything clicked into place. The question about the poison, firing the nanny, the cramps, the dirty shoes. It was a setup, and I was the perfect scapegoat. The ambulance arrived. It was chaos. Paramedics running. The baby being rushed out. The hospital. I stood outside the emergency room. Beatrice was inside, crying in Richard's arms. A fake, theatrical cry. We're at the halfway point. If you're feeling the rage I felt, subscribe to the channel. You won't believe what I did to expose this woman. After an hour, the doctor came out. "We stabilized him," he said. But it was close. "We found traces of cardiac glycosides in his system. It's poison. Looks like plant poison. Do you have oleander at home?" Mr. Harrison looked at me. I was across the hall. Beatrice lifted her head, and through her fake tears, she looked at me, and she smiled. A victorious smile. From someone who had gotten exactly what she wanted. In that moment, I knew she was a monster. Mr. Harrison stormed toward me like a bull. "I will destroy you," he snarled. "I'll make sure you rot in jail. You poisoned my son. You poisoned my son." He banned me from the mansion. "Get your things and disappear. The police are on their way there now." In that exact second, something inside me just shut off. It wasn't fear. It wasn't sadness. It was clarity. The promise I made to Claire. Take care of my son. I was not going to let that woman destroy this family. I was not going to prison for a crime she committed. I looked at him, cold. "I didn't do this." He laughed. "Get out of here." I left the hospital. He thought I was running. I was going to war. He had no idea what was about to happen. I had very little time. The police were heading to the mansion, and Mr. Harrison had given me the key. It's plant poison. Beatrice had given me the weapon. The oleander. I didn't go home. I went straight to an electronics store. I spent $200, almost half my paycheck, on the smallest spy camera I could find. It was shaped like a large button. It had voice-activated audio recording. My plan was risky. I was fired. If I got caught, I'd be arrested for breaking and entering. I didn't care. I drove to the mansion. I parked 3 blocks away. The police had already come and gone. They collected my shoes and the bottle. Circumstantial evidence. Beatrice knew it. She needed more. She was going to try again. I waited until 3 in the morning. The house was dark. I hopped the back wall. The wall I had helped Claire build, covering it with ivy. I knew where the spare kitchen key was hidden. Beatrice never knew about it. I entered the house in total silence. My heart was pounding in my throat. I went up the stairs. Every step was a risk. I entered the baby's room. The faint smell of poison was still there. The crib was empty. On the rocking chair next to it was Leo's favorite teddy bear. The bear Claire bought before she died. With trembling hands, I stitched a button. The camera, right where one of the bear's eyes used to be. I positioned the bear facing the crib and the door. I was out of the house in less than 10 minutes. As I drove to my small apartment, I called the only person who would believe me, Maria, the fired nanny. Maria, I said. It's Anne. She tried to kill Leo. She framed me. Maria broke down on the phone. I knew it. I knew it. Anne, that woman is the devil. She threatened me. I have audio files, Anne. Audio of her screaming at me, saying if I ever got near Leo again, she would end my life. Send me everything, I said. And get ready. We're going to take her down. The next day, the baby returned from the hospital. The doctors thought it was a tragic accident, that he had ingested contaminated soil from my shoes. I stayed in my apartment, watching the live feed from the bear's camera on my phone. For 24 hours, nothing. The new nanny took care of him. Beatrice barely appeared. I was starting to think I'd made a mistake. Until the second night. 11 p.m. my phone vibrated. Voice-activated audio. The nanny had left. The baby was asleep. Beatrice entered the room. She looked nervous. She stared at the crib for a long time. Then she picked up her phone. I turned up the volume. Her voice was low, hissing. Mom. Yeah, it's me. It worked. The idiot Richard bought it. He blamed the gardener. Of course the kid is fine. He only had a little. This is the plan. One more relapse next week. The doctor will think it's a syndrome, that his little heart is weak, and the inheritance is all mine. I stopped breathing. She continued. No one will suspect. Claire is already dead, and the stupid gardener will go to jail for the rest of her life. I told you I'd pull it off. I recorded every second. My entire body was shaking with rage. Stupid gardener. I stopped the recording. I saved the file in 3 different places. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I called Mr. Harrison. He answered, his voice full of hate. What do you want, you criminal? My lawyer is calling you tomorrow, Mr. Harrison, I said, my voice as calm as I could make it. I know you hate me, but I need you to be at your house in 1 hour. And I need you to bring the police. Not the cops who investigated. Bring the chief. Are you insane? I have proof of my innocence. And proof of who really tried to kill your son. If I'm wrong, you can arrest me on the spot. 1 hour. I hung up. I arrived at the mansion exactly 1 hour later. 2 officers and a detective were at the door. Mr. Harrison was on the porch, looking like a ghost. Beatrice appeared at the door. When she saw me, she laughed. You've got some nerve, you rat. Did you come to turn yourself in? She looked at the detective. You can arrest her. It was her. Did she confess? The detective looked at me. Ma'am, I heard a very serious accusation. What do you have? Beatrice crossed her arms. She has nothing. She's just an ignorant, desperate gardener. I looked at her. Beatrice, you called me ignorant. But did you know that oleander poison leaves traces in the system for weeks? And did you know that baby monitors record audio? Her face changed. The arrogant smile wavered. Mr. Harrison stepped forward. What are you talking about? I took out my phone. I'm talking about this. I hit play. The room fell completely silent. Beatrice's voice echoed from my phone. The idiot Richard bought it. He blamed the gardener, Mr. Harrison stared at his wife. All the color drained from his face. One more relapse next week, and the inheritance is all mine. Beatrice tried to snatch the phone from my hand. No, it's fake. She's lying. But the detective was faster. He grabbed her arm. The voice continued. The stupid gardener will go to jail, Mr. Harrison didn't collapse. I have never seen so much hatred in a man's face. He lunged at her. What did you do? What did you do to my son? The officers had to hold Mr. Harrison back. Beatrice knocked over a wine glass that was on the table. The red wine stained the white carpet. She tried to run. It's a lie. I love him. Richard, I love you. Ma'am, the detective said, pulling out his handcuffs. Hands behind your back. You're under arrest for attempted murder. The arrogant woman who called me trash, who laughed at Claire's death, who tried to kill an innocent baby, was being handcuffed in her own living room, screaming, kicking Dade as they dragged her away. I didn't stay to watch. I went upstairs, walked into Leo's room, and picked him up. He woke up and smiled at me. He was safe. The promise was kept. Today. 1 year has passed. Beatrice was convicted. She got 22 years for attempted murder with aggravating circumstances. Maria's audio files and my recording were undeniable. Mr. Harrison? He apologized to me on his knees. He offered me money, a house, anything. I didn't accept it. I looked at him and said, I didn't do this for you. I did it for Claire and for Leo. I still work at the mansion, but now I'm not just a gardener. I'm Leo's guardian. Until he's old enough to understand his mother's story. Mr. Harrison started a foundation in Claire's name for children who are victims of violence, and I replanted the white roses. They're bigger than ever. I learned you should never underestimate the person who tends the garden. She doesn't just know where the poisons are. She knows how to use them to expose the truth. If this story moved you, like and subscribe. There's a lot of injustice in the world. And here, we expose all of it. Now I want to know what you think. Do you think Richard deserved forgiveness for doubting and accusing me so quickly, or was he just another victim of Beatrice's manipulation? Let me know in the comments what you would have done in my place.